Hey squad, welcome back. Now if you're anything like me and you're making good use of the fantastic Logic Pro drummer in your songs, then let me show you a few techniques which you can use to really make your drummer tracks pop in the mix, taking it from this to this.
Don't play the game if you don't know how to follow the rules. She rock.
Okay, let's dive in. So first things first, if you haven't seen any of my previous Logic Pro Drummer videos, make sure you check out this playlist right here, because I'm not going to delve too much into Logic Drummer in this one because I've already covered it in a number of previous videos. This video is more about tailoring the sound of the drummer so the drum tracks really pop in your mix. Also, I'm going to do a follow-up video on how you can make your bass lines pop in the mix just using stock Logic plugins. And after both videos are released, I'll upload this very same project so you can download it and explore and experiment and see how I actually got there and use the settings I've created should you choose to do so. So for today's example, we're going for an R&B drummer played by Curtis on the Neo Soul kit. We're using the Play the Game beat preset with these settings right here. So let's have a quick listen to the drums on their own. Now, let's hear it with the rest of the instruments.
Don't play the game if you don't know how to follow the rules. She rock. Shiny.
Cool, that sounds all right. So let's listen to the drums and the bass. That sounds cool, but we can go one better. Whilst we've got our drummer regions selected, let's come down here and we're going to click follow and we're going to make sure that bass is selected. Now let's listen to how the drums and the bass line are now locking better together. Amazing, isn't it? The follow feature. Incidentally, we've also got a second instance of Logic Drummer right here, and it's our percussionist, and it's Quincy playing the pop percussion. Check out my video on the Logic Drummer percussion features if you want to find out more. So this is just one technique you can use to give yourself more control over the drums and to add real character and dynamics to the drum track. So the first thing we want to do is duplicate our drum track, like so. And then we're going to copy these drummer regions down to the duplicated track, holding down the Option or Alt key, drag and drop. Now I'm muting the original drums. I don't need to use these anymore. We're keeping these here as a backup. Next thing we're going to do is select our drummer regions, right click and come down to convert to MIDI region. Okay, so we have a MIDI version of the drummer sounds. Let's have a quick listen. Exactly the same as the original. All good. I'm going to join these two regions together just using the letter J on the keyboard. Now the next bit is really useful. Once again, you right click and you come down to MIDI and you select separate by note pitch. And now we have all of the individual drum sounds separated on their individual tracks. And this is a really useful feature, especially if, for example, you wanted to replace some of the drum sounds for your own samples. Maybe you had a particular kick drum that you wanted to use instead of the Logic kick drum. This right here looks like the kick drum. So let's go in here, kick. That's the Logic kick right there. So to quickly substitute my kick drum for my own sample, I could create a brand new software instrument track, maybe load up the quick sampler and add another kick, maybe this rock kick right here. Pull my kick drum MIDI region to that track and let's have a listen. Simple there. So that's a quick way of replacing or substituting the stock Logic samples using your own sample library. Now this next stage is a little bit laborious, but it's definitely worth doing because this is about giving yourself a lot more control and being able to shape the tone of each individual sound as well as the overall kit. Now what we need to do is identify what drum sound is on each of these individual tracks. Unfortunately, if we hit solo right here, we end up soloing all of these drum tracks, which I believe is a bug in this version of Logic. I'm not using the latest version on this particular computer. Maybe on the latest release, this has been addressed. So what I generally do is highlight all of the drum track regions, mute them all, then select the one I want to check out and unmute. Okay, so we know that one's a kick drum. So let's title that kick. I'm going to mute the region again, and then let's go for this one. Right, so that's a snare sound, but it's not the main snare. Let's unmute this one as well. So these are both snares. Now I know that these next 3 tracks are hi-hat tracks. Now once I've figured out what is on each of these individual tracks, the next step I'm going to take is bouncing tracks in place, converting them into audio. So let's go back to the kick drum and let's unmute that. And before I bounce in place, let's open up the kit and let's have a listen. Now if I wanted to make some adjustments before I consolidated this to audio, what I'd do is maybe try out a different kick. Nope. Back to the original. Yeah, that will work. The other thing I might want to do is just dampen this. Let's dampen it by 100%. Yeah, I'm going to go with that. This is just quick and dirty. Once I've done my adjustments, I'll come out of there and then use a key command, Control B, call this kick, bounce in place. I've got my new kick drum. Let's pull that down the bottom. The next thing I'll do is go to my snares, unmute both of these snares. Again, if I wanted to, I can open up the kit, click on the snare, maybe switch out the snare if I wanted to, and make my adjustments here should I choose to do so before I consolidate. Once I'm happy, I'm going to make sure both of these regions are selected. Key command, Control B, snare, and here's a combination of the snares. Pull this down here. And finally, once again, we'll unmute the hats. Once I've got all 3 regions selected, Control B, hats, and we bounce in place. Pull this down here. Now let's have a listen to the drums that we've converted. As for these remaining drums, these are going to be toms and cymbals. So what I'll do is I'll consolidate them and then mix them as though they're being picked up by the drum overhead mics. Great. Now, just reminding you, if you are finding value in my videos, remember to give me a like and subscribe if you haven't already done so using the links above and in the description. All right, let's press on. Okay, so this is what we've got so far with our new drum tracks. Now, next thing we want to do is select all of the new drum tracks, right click, and we're going to create a track stack. We're going for a summing stack and we're going to call this drums. I like to keep things organized, so I make sure all of the tracks have appropriate icons. Now, once we've got all of our drums in our track stack or group, select our first drum track, which is the kick drum right here. And now we're going to imprint some of the Logic Pro drum presets. So we click up here on settings, come down to legacy, Logic, drums and percussion, acoustic drums, acoustic kick, and I'm going to go for acoustic kick 02. Let's have a listen. Now I'm going to open up the compressor. I'm going to select the classic VCA and I'm going to switch on the soft distortion. For the snare, come to setting, legacy, Logic, drums and percussion, acoustic drums and acoustic kit. This time I'm going to go for snare 2. Again, I'm going to go for the same VCA compressor, switch on the soft distortion. I'm going to bypass the reverb. And for the hats, same process, hats 2. Now for the overheads, do the same. This time I'm going to go for acoustic and I'm just going to go for bright kit. You'll spend more time mixing, leveling things up. You can also add a little bit of panning here. And on the overheads, something I really like to use, one of my favorite stock Logic plugins is the Logic Spreader. We're going to go to modulation, we're going to go to spreader, drum room enhancer. Yes, adding more stereo width exactly where I need it. This is a great way to add some more stereo width to your mix. Do it on things like the percussion and overheads. Really widens the sound. Okay, we're nearly done. Just a couple more steps and then we'll be there. Let's move our drum stack a bit higher up because later on I want to switch between our original drums and our new drum tracks. And now we're going to add some extra sauce to our drums. So let's close this up right now. And while we're sitting on the drum stack or group, we're going to come over here and we're going to insert another compressor. We're going to go to the presets, drums, classic drums. And as you can see, hard distortion is switched on. And this is going to add some additional harmonics to the drum track, which is really good. Next thing we're going to do is come back over here and we're going to go to EQ and Vintage EQ Collection. These guys are so often underused and they are absolutely brilliant. We're going to go for Vintage Console EQ. Once again, we're going to go to the preset drums and select drum bus. Under the output section, we're going to choose punchy. What we're doing here, we're adding some additional color to the drum tone, and this Vintage EQ is modeled on a classic Neve mixing desk. Okay, and now we're going to pull up the delay and we're going to go for the tape delay. Now you might think this is really strange. Why is he adding a tape delay to the main drum track? Well, set the feedback to 0%, switch off the tempo sync, set the delay time to 0 milliseconds. Nothing at all happening here. I'm turning this all the way off. All of these settings all the way off. Dry signal all the way to 100, wet signal all the way down. So as things are set up right now, there's no delay effect at all on the drums. However, what we're going to use is this character section to add some tape saturation. So I'm going to pull this down to about, let's start here, and you're going to adjust it according to your own taste. And as we bleed this in, you'll start to hear the amount of tape saturation that's added to the signal. So let's just solo these drums for the minute. Okay, so what you'll do is find the right balance that works for you. Just ease it in up until the point where you're hearing a nice tape saturation color being added to your signal, and then you can stop there. You'll also see I've filtered out some of the low frequency because I didn't really want to add too much tape saturation to the low frequencies, more the mids and highs. And of course, you can tailor this according to your own taste. So that's our tape saturation. So there's one final thing that we want to do, and that is added some parallel compression to the drum track. Definitely check out this video if you want to see more examples of parallel compression. However, whilst we've got our drum track stack selected, we're going to come over to the auxiliary send option there, go to bus, and I'm going to choose a random bus 20. We're going to click and hold here, and we're going to choose pre-fader. The other thing we're going to do is hold down the option key and click on this dial once to set the level here to unity gain. We're going to rename the bus channel to P drums, and very importantly, we're going to pull the channel fader down on the bus channel all the way to 0. Now this is where it gets really interesting. We're going to add two plugins right here. We're adding the Vintage Console EQ and a compressor. And for the console EQ, we're going to go with a preset drum bus tube, and we're going to choose Smooth Console EQ as the output model. On the compressor, we're going to choose VCA Smashed. Now let's have a listen to the drums that are coming through this channel. Really smashed, really over compressed. Let's pull up the Vintage Console EQ once again. And now we're going to switch on the low cut filter, and we're going to filter out some of the low frequencies. And now what we're going to do is bring this all the way off again, bring our drums back in. And now we're going to ease the over compressed drums in underneath. Now that combination of Logic tools and techniques is definitely going to add some additional life to your mix. The final thing I'm going to do just to round things off is I'm going to add a couple of my favorite plugins on the master bus. This one right here being the Waves CLA mix down, and I'm just going to run with one of the presets, Drive Me Home. And finally, another one of my favorites, which is the Waves Abbey Road TG mastering unit. And again, we're going to run with one of these presets right here. I've made a few minor adjustments, and I'll do an A/B as well as we play out. As I said before, if you found value in this video or any of my other videos, remember to give me a like, remember to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to do a follow-up video on how I achieve a really cool bass guitar sound just using Logic plugins, after which I'll upload this project so you can try it out. Anyway, until next time, I'm Deuce, playing out. Peace.
Don't play the game if you don't know